Good afternoon, you're listening to 90.1 FM The Heat. Welcome to This Week in Niagara. I'm Jamie Rankin.
And I'm Becca Luden. This week we'll be discussing the evolution and growths of social media in our younger generations and the use of social media within the classroom.
They aren't even out of grade school, but already people are trying to name the youngest up-and-coming generation. We're at the end of the alphabet, so now what? Today we will be joined by several guests, including a grade 8 teacher and a grade 8 student.
These students and teachers are from St. Matthew's Catholic School. They're using social media within the classroom currently, but this is only just an example of how grade schools are using it throughout all of them. Obviously, social media is growing rapidly by the minute. More and more people use it every day. But how does that affect today's generation? We will get you up to speed.
This is your message.
Thanks, guys. I'm Jen Mulrine for 90.1 FM The Heat, and this is your Up to Speed. Today's younger generation is called Generation Z, or is referred to it as Generation Net or iGen. This is because they've never known a world without the internet. They are the tech-savviest generation of all time, so much that toddlers can maneuver through YouTube. But who are they really? Most people can agree that it's too early to tell, but we do know that this generation prefers communicating through social networks and instant messaging. 50% of all tweens between the ages of 8 and 12 globally are online every day. They are currently preparing students for jobs that do not yet exist, using technologies that have not been invented, in order to solve problems that we don't even know are problems yet. Now you're all up to speed. I'm Jen, and now back to Jamie and Becca.
Oh, God, I don't know about anybody else. Those are the most annoying sounds ever. I mean, it means work. It means I have to do something. It means I have to answer somebody. Not happy with it.
The most annoying part for me is trying to figure out what source is actually making that sound, because they're all open at the same time.
Oh my God, dude, you are in way too deep.
You might think so, but I'm on social media all the time. And well, Jamie, you're completely the opposite.
Pretty much.
And I think it's good, though, especially for the topic that we've got today, because you're able to hear both sides of the opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Most of the time, only the attractive side is what's seen.
It's definitely true, but I'm going to start off with just some fun facts. So, apparently 25% of Facebook users are under the age of 10, and 20% of teenagers log on to Facebook over 10 times a day.
Wow, no, they're in too deep. But don't you have to be at least 13 to get on Facebook? I think a lot of people are just lying about their age to get in nowadays. And that's only Facebook. There are hundreds more of social media aspects out there.
I can't agree with you more, but this does lead us to our first guest. His name is Paul Keeley. He's a grade 8 teacher at St. Matthew's Elementary School, and he personally tries to use social media to help teach his students. Now, Paul, seeing Generation Z grow up with all the social media aspects, how do you keep up with it and use it to teach?
When new apps come out or new websites come out, I've made an effort to find application within the classroom, and in using it to teach. I mean, really, what I've done over time is created basically a giant collection of resources that over time, some of them kind of expire and they're no longer really valid, or they just look cheesy because they're really old. And you update things, and as much as possible, I like to keep it as interactive and visual, because I find that the kids have become much more of that variety. They don't do so well with the paper and pen stuff anymore, but if you show them a video that supports some of the stuff that we talk about in the textbook, it really sticks a lot more with them. So Edmodo, essentially, to liken it to what the kids would be familiar with, it would be Facebook for school. And it is a internal social network just simply with the kids in your class. It allows you to keep communication with them in the off hours. You can post assignments to it, and the kids will submit their assignments. They can complete it through Edmodo, or they can create a Word document and attach it. And as a teacher, you can actually do all the grading online, literally on the document.
Now, there has been a drop in the use of social media in kids because now their parents use it and several other family members as well. Do you think that using it for educational purpose will change this aspect?
I would like to think that I would be able to use this for grade 6s and grade 7s. I would see there would be some difficulty moving it down to the grade 5 age level. and I would imagine that there would be certain resistance that would be met, particularly with the parents. I think the kids would be all over the idea, but I don't think that the maturity would be in place for them to recognize that that I can go get extra help, because I don't think that at that particular age level that autonomy is in place. So that with that maturity that comes with the grade 7s and 8s, more so with the 8s even, there tends to be as we move forward through the year. Some students have at the beginning of the year, but more towards the end of the year, students start to recognize the value of their independent efforts.
So it does come down to a maturity level. We're sitting down right now with Paul Keeley. He's a grade 8 teacher at St. Matthew's Elementary School. So continuing on with the maturity level, do you think that giving students this ability to use social media within school and within the classroom will give them more incentive to use it, or do you think that they'll take this privilege for granted?
I think it all comes back down to, have the expectations been made clear, and has there been a meaningful dialogue with the students about how this is to be used, and what are the consequences. I think there's a lot of and we see this, of course, too, with Facebook and other social media sites. People are brave behind a computer, and they will say things that they wouldn't otherwise say to somebody's face. Now, in recognition of that, if it's what I found has been successful is to be able to explain to the students that your anonymity is limited to a police warrant, and if you are doing illegal things online in terms of your communications and sending threatening messages or engaging in bullying, that the police now have a mandate and actually will follow up on finding out the IP addresses of individual students.
All right, so that was Paul Keeley. Thank you for your time, and definitely some great information there. But I want to go back to what he said, that you can get help right away when you need it. Definitely something that I would have used. I probably would have done homework if we had that opportunity.
Oh, I mean, I would have, the major advantage I would have taken would be to get a hold of other students in the process. I mean, you can't always get a hold of a teacher, even if there is things like Facebook. You can get a hold of a student, though, because they're always on it.
Very true, very true.
But I remember being in grade school and just having the chalk and the board and nothing too fancy, nothing distracting. And I just don't see something coming in a real positive fashion from something that was designed from Facebook. But I don't know, there are definitely some positive aspects to the growth in technology in today's world. Completely.
They're able to find things so much faster than some adults. And because Generation Z is so hooked into screens of all kinds at such a young age, it's known that they're more conscious of what's going on around the world.
Totally. They're not just out there playing soccer. They're more exposed to cultures, ideas, and are supposed to be great multitaskers, and that's never a bad thing in today's world.
It's not at all. You're exactly right. It's a generation, as we can tell, that is big on expectation when it comes to different technological gadgets, whether it's cell phones or laptops. And in many cases, the parents buy them for their kids.
Mm-hmm. So, to find out more about how technologies affect social status and how dependent younger students are on these instruments, we've invited the vice principal from St. Matthew's School, Adrian DiTullio. So, Adrian, how are kids dependent on their cell phones, laptops, iPods, etc.?
They are very dependent on them, and as am I, functioning in this day and age. It is a great tool, and I think one that has made the world and our society better, but we just need to know when to use it and what to use it for, which young people have trouble with.
How do you see social media affecting today's youth with their social statuses, so to say?
I think that kids believe they need a cell phone or a Facebook account, etc. In terms of status, there are very few without that connection. I don't know that their status would be affected by not having it, but I think the desire to belong to that world would be great and is great for children, but and if they weren't a part of it, they would feel that they're lacking in some way. So I guess there is a status attached to that, but life would go on without it, would be my opinion.
How is social media being used to educate the students?
In a positive way, well, I know that our grade 8 teacher has a site, and he's working to expand that within the division. He uses it very well. Students are asking him questions at night, and he answers it from his cell phone, and it's quite a remarkable thing, actually. In terms of other positives for social media, I'm assuming students could communicate for their homework there. Whether they would do that or not, you'd have to ask them, but it is possible.
Okay. So we're here talking to Adrian DiTullio, the vice principal of St. Matthews, and we're speaking to him on the dependencies of the youth on their cell phones and laptops and other gadgets. So do you feel like kids know what credible sources are?
I think that they read it online or somewhere and they take it as truth, whereas opinions or blogging, etc., are just that, an opinion. So yes, they would have difficulty distinguishing.
What do you feel are some of the positives and negatives from social media?
We all want to belong to a community, and if you can find acceptance in social media and connect with your friends, have a good time with that, that's fantastic. Traditionally, we seek out friendships and groups that we belong to. This just makes it easier to do that, so I see that as a positive. Negatives are that it's very easy to type something that you wouldn't say to someone's face, or I've seen people post pictures that they wished they could take back, etc., and messages, etc., that once it's out there, it's out there. The police have often told me in presentations that I've seen. So that would definitely be a negative, whereas if you were speaking to someone face to face, you could make an apology right there and say, please don't share that with anybody, and concerns that come out of that situation may be minimized.
Finally, how do you think that social media is going to change in the future when this generation gets older?
It's definitely changing the world, and the way we communicate has grown to great degrees over the last, let's say, 20 years. It's completely revolutionized. Where it's going from here, I'm not sure. If I did, I'd probably be rich. But I think that it's just online and ongoing and instant. So you have to be able to switch with the times and stay current, or you'll be left out of a great deal of communication.
Okay, thanks again for doing this for us today, Adrian. Again, that was Vice Principal Adrian DiTullio. So he mentioned earlier in our talk there about the social status that comes with these devices, and he mentioned that life would go on. I don't know if that's quite so. I've seen quite a few mid-teen girls lose their mind over losing their cell phones.
I'm definitely going to have to agree with you there, Jamie. I mean, I would go mental. Hands down, I would go insane.
It's there. It happens. Okay, so coming up after the break, we will be talking to a member of the District School Board of Niagara, talking about the evolution of social media right here on Niagara's New Rock 90.1 FM, The Heat.
Are you a football fan? Finally, a reason to fist pump. Head on down to the Armory for NFL Sundays. What better place to watch football from 1 p.m. till 7 with great food and drink specials? The NFL at the Armory every Sunday.
No NHL?
No problem.
Plays it to Ryan Strome. Good move by Ryan Strome. Strome. Oh, what a move! Oh, what a goal! Ryan Strome holds up. Trailer shoots, scores! The winner in overtime. The man they came to see.
Tune into Full Strength Radio every Thursday morning at 8 when Darren Alley and Scott Fraser bring you up to date in the AHL, the OHL, and Niagara Junior B. And of course, the latest from the NHL Labor Talks. That's Thursday mornings at 8 a.m., only on 90.1 FM The Heat.
Welcome back. This is 90.1 FM The Heat. I'm Becca Luden, joined by my co-host, Jamie Rankin. If you're just joining us today on This Week in Niagara, we're talking about the evolution of social media in our younger generation.
Yes, and very soon we'll be talking to the communications officer from the District School Board of Niagara.
In our society today, technology is becoming a larger necessity, with younger kids becoming more dependent on it and using it in their everyday activities.
Do we feel that schools are trying to keep up with the times or just trying to kick it more old-fashioned?
To find out more about what's going on in elementary schools, we talked to DSBN Communications Officer. With more information on the credentials of Todd Snesnik, we're going to send you over to the guest spotlight.
For This Week in Niagara on 90.1 FM The Heat, I'm Megan O'Halloran, and this is your guest spotlight for Todd Snesnik. Todd has a bachelor's in science from the University of Waterloo and has been a teacher with the District School Board of Niagara since 2000. 4 years ago, he was hired as the ICT consultant for the board, and this position has morphed into the IT for Learning consultant and business consultant. He's the co-founder of SWAT Team and is active in helping teachers engage in students' classrooms by using technology. The SWAT Team is a group of 8 people that provides technology assistance to all the District School Board of Niagara staff and students. Most of their support involves direct classroom instruction with students and teachers, where they embed digital citizenship, internet safety, and awareness into most, if not all, of our sessions. That's all for your guest spotlight. I'm Megan O'Halloran. Now back to our hosts, Becca Luden and Jamie Rankin.
Thanks, Megan. Now that we're all caught up, Todd, right now, is the DSBN using social media to help educate kids?
I think it's really dependent on the teacher. We don't really have a program out there that says, here's social media and, go ahead and use it. So a lot of teachers are taking it upon themselves because it's not really something that's integrated into the curriculum, right? There's no dictating from the top down that says this is what you have to do. So when the teachers are involved with this stuff and the teachers buy into using technology like this, then they're starting to implement the use in schools. And they're teaching that, that digital citizenship behind it, but I don't see it a lot. And it's getting more and more prevalent, but it's not really something that's in there. A lot of teachers are still scared about using it because, they see what can happen, right? There's all those news stories out there and the negative view of it in schools, when really they should be taking a look at the positive side and starting to use it properly themselves, and then start integrating in with the kids to show them the value of it.
So social media isn't going anywhere, and it keeps rapidly changing. Do you feel that the curriculum is eventually going to change so that they can incorporate it in a positive way?
But the fact is, something like has to come. We need to show kids how to use these things properly, because all of these things are their digital footprint. And in 10 years, when people go out and apply for jobs, that digital footprint's going to follow them forever. So if we're not preparing them for their futures, then really we're disservicing those kids. And it's something we have to do at this point. There is no turning back. We can't just say, it's a passing fad, it'll be done with. We need to start addressing those issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, we're talking with Todd Snesnik from the DSBN. What do you think is going to come for social media in the future?
Even if you look at like Twitter and Reddit and Facebook and all of those media-based tools, is that the world is learning together, right? Kids aren't just in their neighborhoods playing with their friends down the street and that's all they have. They have friends around the world. They know about world topics if they're engaged in all these tools. And that's the future, right? There's the way people learn about things. They don't have to wait for the news to come on TV to tell them what happened during the day. They know when it happened.
So what needs to be taught then?
Right? We need to teach people how to search properly. We need to teach people how to verify what data is correct or not. That becomes a skill that people need to know. If you're looking at my favorite quote from last year was a Twitter quote that was, "I'm done learning anything new until somebody can prove to me that Google won't exist forever." And if you look at it, a lot of teachers say, "Well, that's not true," and a lot of kids say, "Oh yeah, that's completely true." But really, there's a happy medium in between. Right? As a teacher, I have to address that as being, I have to change my teaching method. Right? Why should I teach facts anymore? Why should I teach places anymore? Why should I just teach things that people could find if they just simply search for? And what I have to teach as a teacher now is, sure, you can search for that, but what does it tell you? Right? We have to give these kids skills of what to do with that amount of information that's actually at their fingertips.
Thanks for speaking with us today, Todd. Again, that was Todd Snesnik of the District School Board at Niagara. He spoke about a digital footprint, and I think that that's just an extremely great term. And I think that people are starting to pick up on that. They're starting to realize that things that they put online are up there forever, and that there could be a lot of negative implications come from them.
I think it's more of the younger adults that are starting to pick up on it. There's still that like grade 9 and 10 and even elementary going into high school that hasn't picked up on the fact that future employers will see your Facebook and your Twitter feed and all that. And you need to keep it professional. You need to make yourself look decent, like a professional.
Totally.
So now let's send it over to Kelly O'Rourke to see what the Niagara College student body thinks on the topic.
There's 10-year-olds and kids in high school and elementary school that have cell phones. I guess they're going to be more reliant than we are, and we rely on it a lot. And then, our parents don't rely on it at all. My dad doesn't even know how to use a computer.
If there's another way for them to have more chances to talk to people in their class, such as Facebook, it would benefit them more for trust building and group exercises, I think.
You can stay up way too late being on it, or you waste your time doing something that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
It's a resource for them to get information and help from other students.
People spend less time studying and more time talking.
Even work together to study just over Facebook. Even if you can't make FaceTime with the person, you can still use Facebook to stay in touch with all your classmates all at once.
It's part of our lives now, so there's no way to get around it.
I find it really useful because you can just post, you can ask someone for help online, usually on Facebook, go on chat with someone.
I'm Kelly O'Rourke in the halls of Niagara College asking people their opinion on social media and its effects on their education.
The younger kids are getting Facebook earlier, and their teachers could make Facebook pages for the class.
I think it is very distracting, but it helps with group projects because it's easier for everyone to connect to one group on social media.
I see a lot of people in class using Facebook that probably shouldn't be. It's a distraction as well as it can be used as a tool in education.
Younger kids, when they would be doing homework, they're on their social media sites instead of actually focusing on their schoolwork.
For Facebook, for instance, trying to do homework, you get distracted, you're on Facebook, 2 hours later, you're like, oh my goodness, where did my time go?
I'm Kelly O'Rourke for This Week in Niagara. Now back to your hosts, Jamie and Becca.
All right, thanks, Kelly. I'm definitely going to have to agree with the student body of Niagara. I'm guilty of it as well. Procrastinating, going on it in class.
Yep, I've seen you on a few times mid-lecture. Definitely.
Of course. But it's definitely good to hear that there are a lot of students that believe there's a lot of positives to the educational use of social media in today's world.
Well, it's growing at an exponential rate, and it's not going to slow down for anyone. But right now, we're going to send it over to our producer.
Thanks, guys. I'm Alicia Vieira, and I'm today's producer for This Week in Niagara. We've been talking about the evolution of the younger generation and what the impacts are in the classroom. I chose this topic because I was really fascinated to find out how education is trying to keep up with this rapidly changing world today. I have a little sister that will be graduating grade 8 this year, and even though our age difference really isn't that big of a difference, she's personally teaching me new instruments and new things all the time having to do with social media. It made me want to look further into the topic and find out how schools are actually trying to teach their kids a positive way of using it, instead of using it all the time as a distraction. I want people to walk away from the show with more of an understanding on how Generation Z uses technology and how they can use it in a positive way to help them get further in their future. Thanks for tuning in to 90.1 FM The Heat for This Week in Niagara, talking about the evolution of social media and the younger generation. Now back to your hosts, Jamie Rankin and Becca Luden.
Thanks, Alicia. And I'd have to say I'm exactly the same way. I have a younger brother, and he's constantly always teaching me how to use new things with social media. So it is a positive aspect because he's teaching me things that I need to know for being in this business.
I can definitely see how you would need to learn a little bit about social media. But, I'm teaching my mom the same thing. I've taught her how to use her BlackBerry. I've taught her Facebook. And, it's the younger generations that are going to develop those skills faster. But coming up after this short break on This Week in Niagara, we will be sitting down with a grade 8 student to see how they use social media and how it really does affect them personally. Here on 90.1 FM, The Heat.
When you find yourself in a ride spot check this holiday season, please accept our thanks. Ride spot checks are a proven deterrent for impaired drivers and are credited with saving hundreds of lives and preventing thousands of injuries each year. Thanks also for planning a safe ride home this holiday season for yourself, your family, and your guests. A message from CAA Ride Checks booklet and Arrive Alive Drive Sober. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Are you looking for some riveting discussion?
I can't. The Bills. Oh, the Bills are the best team. They got the best 1-2 running back. Next question.
He's getting rid of the ball.
Next question.
Or maybe some light conversation.
It's funny how you won't take that argument though when we talk about NBA.
Yeah, well, let's not get into that.
And they're like, here, shut up.
Well, if not, tune into the Sports Clinic for hard-hitting sports talk every Friday morning from 9 till 10 on 90.1 FM, The Heat.
We're back here on 90.1 FM, The Heat, here on This Week in Niagara. I'm Jamie Rankin, joined by Becca Luden, and talking about the evolution of social media in the younger generation. Millions of people in today's world use every social media possible for communication, business, marketing. It just goes on and on and on.
I'm going to have to agree with you there. I mean, I personally use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even LinkedIn for like my personal website as well. But we wanted to get a little closer to what this generation uses their social media websites for. So I sat down with Olivia Vieira, who is a grade 8 student at St. Matthew's Catholic School. So Olivia, what kind of personal social media do you use?
I use Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Quotive, Twitter, Edmodo, Gmail, and that's it.
That is a ridiculous amount of social media. I mean,
you.
I know. I didn't even think that was possible. I don't know how you remember all those passwords. But continuing on, how does your school use social media aspects to connect with you, the students?
My teacher shows us YouTube videos that we can watch. He also has a website called Edmodo that looks like Facebook. He can post assignments on there, and we post our assignments there. Also, we can ask him questions, and he can answer them for us. We also use Google Calendar, Prezi, and just a smartboard so he can like show us different things.
What do you think are some of the ups and downs to social media?
Well, some of the ups is that you can get like informed about certain things that are happening, like about news and anything around the world, but then and you can be connected to people. But then the downs are the cyberbullying, because people are very mean, and over the internet they don't have to say something face to face, so they're not afraid to say it to you. So people are a lot meaner on the internet.
That's very true. There are tons of issues with cyberbullying. So we're speaking right now with Olivia Vieira. She's a grade 8 student at St. Matthew's School in the classroom that uses social media in order to enhance their education. So Olivia, do you think that school boards will eventually evolve into more social aspects and technologies down the line?
I think so, because using social media and all the technology helps kids learn, because with videos and like using smartboards, the teachers can actually show us what they're talking about and how to do it step by step instead of just explaining it, so you can have like a visual aid of what it is.
And do you think school teachers teach you enough about how to use social media in a positive way?
Like, I don't think they teach us enough, because they say not to cyberbullying, that it's bad, and like to keep all your sites protected, but they don't really show us how. They kind of just focus on the negatives. They don't, except for my teacher this year, all the other teachers just focus on how cyberbullying's bad and that we're not allowed social sites in our school. And then this year, my teacher is showing us different ways to use the internet in good ways, like Edmodo and like Gmail. So I think it's a good thing that he is, so we have more positive impacts for the internet instead of just using like Facebook.
Thank you, Olivia, for your time. So I definitely agree. I think it's good that they're showing the positive ways of using the internet and social media rather than focusing on the negatives.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to what she said though about they need to show them more about how to how to protect themselves and not just tell them to do it. You know,
it's great to show them that sure these things do happen. There are instances where something negative can happen, but if you follow this way, then you'll be protecting yourself from those negative influences.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice to hear from someone that actually is in that generation and shows how natural they use it.
I couldn't even imagine growing up with that technology that fast. I mean, all I knew how to use at that age was paint and like color squares in. But I mean, what do you personally think about the effects or evolution of social media, Jamie?
Well, of course I'm going to feel that it's negative, right? Like, I feel like it stunts our communication ability. We don't get that face-to-face time that we need, and this is going to end up causing us serious social issues in the future. But again, that's just me, and I'm an extremist.
I can definitely see how it could cause some social awkwardness. You're not getting that face-to-face emotion and contact with people. But although it is good in order to help communicate with others that are around the world. But our show is coming to an end, so here's your show preview. Coming up next, we'll have the show wrap with more on social media and using it in younger generations.
Thanks, guys. I'm Alex Bright, and this is your show preview. This Friday, on This Week in Niagara, Shannon Burns produces a show on sexual assault in Niagara and the different issues dealing with it. The show will include interviews with a police officer, a counselor, a motivational speaker, and a victim of sexual assault. I asked Shannon what she wants her audience to take away from her show.
I want my audience to take from this show more of an understanding about how common this is, especially in the Niagara region and as well as Canada, because it is very common and it happens to a lot of people.
Make sure to tune in this Friday at 12 o'clock with your hosts Simone and Scott to create awareness. That's all for your show preview. I'm Alex Bright, and now back to our hosts, Jamie and Becca.
Thanks. And definitely a show worth checking out. I mean, there's always more awareness that can be spread on that topic.
And hopefully it'll help someone that hasn't come out, and it'll give them who to talk to and give them that push that they need in order to open up about what's going on.
If it helps one person.
Exactly. So to wrap things up with more information on what we talked about today, or websites to get more facts on social media, here's your show wrap.
This is Niagara's new rock on 90.1 FM The Heat. I'm Josh Johnson. Today's topic had to do with the evolution of social media in the younger generation. For more information on the topic, you can go to our supporting articles from www.guardian.co.uk or grailresearch.com and search up social media in Generation Z. You can also contact your NC DSP or DSPN and ask them for more information on your local schools and how they use and keep up with social media. That's all for your show wrap. I'm Josh Johnson for This Week in Niagara. Now back to Jamie Rankin and Becca Luden.
Thank you, Josh. It's really surprising to hear how fast the world is changing, how everyone is keeping up with it.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the world is going to change and adapt to what's happening when Generation Z becomes older. But for now, just going to have to wait and see what happens.
And Zed for us Canadians there, Becca. That's all for us today. We hope that you've all learned something new and interesting throughout the show. Make sure to tune in Friday and join your hosts Scott Fraser and Simone Shepard for the next episode of